Another newcomer that's made her debut and introduction into Medarot S. It is the ONH00 type, ONH00 SaraHime, or as I simply will nickname her as SaraHime for short. Now with a kit of Dominion, Effect Clear, Hold, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Browbeat, which ignores a percentage of the resist stat of the target's legs when attacking. Now, as cute as she is, she actually does have a lot of power behind her aesthetic and a lot of speed, so this is a set you generally will not be sorry with pulling for or making use of if you collected anything of her set. Dominion is probably one of the best support skills in the game currently, as it buffs Radar Sight skill, which is 30% to success of self and all allies across the field. And just to touch on that, success is your likelihood to land a hit, and also is your likelihood to land a crit on the enemy. So that's the first step. The second step on top of that is that it also changes all allies' leg match that is not S rank to A rank. So terrain bonus is no longer a problem. If you're using biped legs on desert terrain where you have bad compatibility, say no more. One use of domain and you suddenly have A rank and you're now up to speed and can probably maintain a speed or keep up with most of the high speed flight legs that would master a terrain like that in that particular instance. And as if that wasn't enough, Dominion not only does the radar sight buff and the ground control buff, but it also adds one additional heavy slot to every leg across the team that is not capped at 3. So if in the rare sense where you do end up having to overuse your heavy limit, SaraHime also makes use of that and makes it no longer an issue. So she is just that part alone makes her fantastic to make use of, either as a pure set or as a mixed parts, just for the sake of having that one support skill alone, because it offers so many very handy buffs at once. Right arm effects clear is kind of a niche skill, but if you make use of it in the right way, it can be absolutely devastating. When you attack a target with effect clear, what it does is that it checks the target for any positive buff in play. This includes, of course, shoot boost, melee boost, conceal, radar sight, just the standard support buffs, or even stat cleanse, any kind of positive buff that can be applied to the team. The more positive buffs that are applied and in effect towards the target, the more damage that effect clear will cause, and then, true to its name, will also forcibly remove the buffs from the target, starting them back down at regular stat bonus. So very solid skill there, very solid skill to make use of there, especially if your opponents like to make use of support skills, like for instance as a Blazer Mate build with the Holy Grace leg ability, which makes them go faster. Effects clear can very quickly put a stop to that and put everything back on an even playing field. Hold is a more conventional ailment attack, as it is the debuff to heat and cool, and then it is no evade if I recall correctly, if not no defend, either of the two. I end up getting those two crossed, but it is one of the two on top of the heat and cool debuff, so that will be her more conventional melee skill if you choose to use her as a pure set. Her leg ability of Browbeat does actually meld with her and more or less any kind of melee or even a shoot fighter pretty conventionally well, as it ignores a percentage of the shoot and melee resist stats of the target's legs when you attack. So that means right from start, SaraHime is going to be dealing just a little bit extra damage than she may cause on a regular hit and on any other day or with any other leg. As a pure set score, I'd rate her arguably a pretty solid 7 out of 10. Even though she does lack a lot of pierce damage potential, she has a fantastic support skill to comp that very, very easily. An ailment to also assist in keeping faster opponents down at a lower speed to make them easier to outrun. And in the case they do decide to use a positive buff, you can use Effects Clear for that punish very, very easily on top of that. So even if it doesn't have a pierce damage effect, Effects Clear can be very dangerous if you make use of it and in the right scenario. She also has pretty solid stats all around. Her legs are in the low mid 100 range, if I recall correctly, in terms of her mobility. So she's fast. She's not only cute, but she's also fast and can be very, very deadly in the right circumstances. As a mixed parts score, I'd rate her just higher at a 9 out of 10. Primarily for the head and legs. If you can put those two together and then pair it off with maybe a really good shooting skill or preferably a melee skill like Break Hammer or any other kind of basic sword, you can make very, very good use of SaraHime or even her as a mixed set without any major serious issues. Dominion as a very probably as your go-to support skill for any particular need, because it covers so many different bases at once. So if you are going to shoot for SaraHime, if you get the full set, absolutely fantastic. You could make use of it on anything. Even if you get mixed parts, you can still make use of something on the build.